evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq greets the presidents of India and South Korea on their country's independence anniversary. The Sultanate presents a sixth national report to the Secretariat of the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. Afghan president conducts consultations with international partners to find a political solution to end fighting, and Taliban advances towards the capital, Kabul. Iran is to impose a 6-day general lockdown in cities across the country. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency Ram Nath Kovind, President of India, on his country's independence anniversary. His Majesty the Sultan also sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency Moon Jae-in, President of South Korea, on his country's independence anniversary. The Sultanate, represented by the Environment Agency, presented a sixth national report to the Secretariat of the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity within the framework of the national reporting on the state and status of biodiversity in the Sultanate, which is one of the basic obligations that states parties to the convention must undertake periodically every 2 or 3 years. Engineer Saleh bin Naghmoush Al-Saadi, Director of the Biodiversity Department at the authority, said in a statement to the Oman News Agency, this report is one of the tools used to assess progress made in implementing the national goals and the Global Strategic Plan for Biodiversity 2011-2022 and the Aichi Biodiversity Goals. Such reports are also one of the mechanisms to measure the extent of success, difficulties, and challenges faced by the countries in implementing their national plans and programs for biodiversity and help them identify scientific and technical needs and build their capacities. The public establishment for industrial estates Mada'in merged 3 administrative centers under a new umbrella, Mada'in Academy for Industrial Innovation. The decision includes the emergence of Industrial Innovation Center, the National Business Center, and Mada'in Industrial Academy. The new academy will focus on 3 streams: local content and opportunity development, industrial and innovation incubators, as well as training and qualification. The emergence aims at cutting down operational costs, developing sustainable investment chances, upscaling local content, honing national cadres, and optimizing factories' performances in industrial estates, as well as improving efficiency and the effectiveness of Mada'in process through empowering innovation. The trading value of real estate activity in the Sultanate exceeded 1.3 billion Omani riyals at the end of June. According to a report issued by the National Center for Statistics and Information, real estate trading value recorded an increase by 30.4% compared to the same period of last year. The trading value for sales contracts also recorded an increase by 70%, amounting over 600 million Omani riyals. The number of sales contracts increased by 104.9%. The trading value for mortgages contracts as well as increased by 16.3% by the end of last June, while the trading value for swap contracts recorded a decline by 75.5% compared to the same period of last year. The overall credits offered by the banking sector rose by 3.8% during the first half of the current year to stand at 27 billion and 32 million Omani riyals. The Central Bank of Oman noted an increase in the credits given to the private sector by 18% to reach 23 billion and 200 million Omani riyals. Deposits in the banking sectors grew by more than 4% to stand at 24 billion and 900 million Omani riyals by the end of June. Over 12,000 certificates of origin were issued for local products exported to GCC countries. The issued certificates of origin were for agriculture, industrial, and natural resources products. The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion stated that more than 2,500 of permits for GCC countries were cleared through Bayan system. The figure rose by 83% during the first 6 months of the current year. The number of companies and various types of corporations registered at the Secretariat of Commercial Registry stood at 5,620 during the first quarter of the current year. The figure rose by 30.18% compared to the same period last year. Still to come on News Bulletin. The death toll from floods in Turkey rises to 44. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani said today the remobilization of the country's armed forces was a top priority as Taliban fighters inched closer to the capital after routing the country's defenses over the past week. He said in a televised speech that the current situation, the remobilization of their security and defense forces is a top priority and serious steps are being taken in this regard. Ghani said he has started extensive consultations inside the government with the elders, political leaders, representatives of people, and international partners on achieving a reasonable and certain political solution in which the peace and stability of the people of Afghanistan are envisaged. With the country's second and third largest cities having fallen into Taliban hands, Kabul has effectively become a besieged last stand for government forces who have offered little or no resistance elsewhere. The Taliban seized 2 more provinces today and approached the outskirts of Afghanistan's capital while also launching a multi-pronged assault on a major northern city defended by the former warlords. The insurgents have captured much of the northern, western, and southern Afghanistan in a breakneck offensive less than 3 weeks before the United States is set to withdraw its last troops, raising fears of a full militant takeover or another Afghan civil war. An official said that Taliban captured or of larger province just south of the capital Kabul and detained local officials, and they have reached the Char Asyab districts, just 11 kilometers south of Kabul. The insurgents also captured the capital of Paktika bordering Pakistan. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of Afghans have fled their homes, with many fearing a return to the Taliban's oppressive rule. Despite the frantic evacuation efforts, the Biden administration continues to insist that a complete Taliban takeover is not inevitable. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said while acknowledging the Taliban fighters were trying to isolate Kabul, the city is not right now in an imminent threat environment. Today, helicopters flitted back and forth between Kabul's airport and the vast U.S. diplomatic compound in the heavily fortified Green Zone, 46 years after choppers evacuated Americans from Saigon, signaling the end of the Vietnam War. Iranian state media said authorities will impose a 6-day general lockdown in cities across the country. The lockdown includes markets and public offices, as well as movie theaters, gyms, and restaurants in all Iranian cities. The lockdown begins on Monday and will last through Saturday. The National Coronavirus Task Force, which issued the decision, also ordered a travel ban between all Iranian cities from Sunday to Friday. Also today, Iran reported 29,700 daily cases and 466 deaths. The pandemic total stands at 4.3 million confirmed cases and 97,208 confirmed deaths. Only 3.8 million of Iran's more than 80 million people having received both vaccine doses. Many frontline medical workers have been vaccinated with Iran's locally produced shots or the Chinese Sinopharm vaccine, which may be less effective than other inoculations. Australia's most populous state reported a daily record of 466 new locally acquired COVID-19 infections today, and increased fines for breaches of pandemic restrictions. The previous record tally in New South Wales, home to Sydney, was 390 reported yesterday. 4 people have died overnight, bringing the death toll in New South Wales from an outbreak of the Delta variant first detected in Sydney in mid-June to 42. Sydney residents will be restricted to within 5 kilometers of home, half the distance they were previously allowed. Police, supported by the military, will crack down on Sydney's residents who breach stay-at-home orders from tomorrow night. Sydney has been in lockdown since June 26, 10 days after the first Delta case was detected. Turkey's Emergency and Disaster Agency said today that the death toll in Turkey's severe floods and mudslides had climbed to at least 44. Torrential rains that pounded the Black Sea coastal provinces of Bartın, Kastamonu, and Sinop on Wednesday caused the flooding that demolished homes and bridges and swept away cars. Scientists say that the climate crisis is leading to extreme weather events as the world warms because of the burning of coal, oil, and natural gas. Experts in Turkey, however, also say interference in rivers and incorrect construction are the major contributor to the massive damage in Turkey's floods. A slow-moving rain front battered parts of Japan's southern island of Kyushu today, causing floods in some areas. Video showed a street in Kurumi City with a submerged car and a rescue team passing by on a boat. 1 woman was dead and 2 others were missing today in Nagasaki Prefecture after a landslide triggered the rain hit 2 houses. With some parts of the country experiencing record levels of rainfall, Japan has broadened its highest level of risk alerts to cover more than 1 million people. One area recorded 15.7 inches of rain in just 72 hours. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we enter tonight's news bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq greets the presidents of India and South Korea on their country's independence anniversary. The Sultanate presents its sixth national report to the Secretariat of the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. Afghan president conducts consultations with international partners to find a political solution to infighting, and Taliban advances towards the capital, Kabul. Iran is to impose a 6-day general lockdown in cities across the countries. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios is good night and stay safe.